I'm Hattie, 58 years old from Boston, and yesterday my only daughter Amanda told me the best wedding gift I could give her was to disappear from her life forever. She called me the worst mother anyone could have. I was supposed to surprise her by selling my house as their wedding gift. Instead, I cancelled the wedding reception and emptied the house. But before I left town, I placed a small package on the bare floor of what was once our home. If you've ever had your heart broken by someone you love, you'll understand. If you're watching this, please let me know where you're from and hit that like and subscribe button as I share how everything fell apart. Life wasn't always this way between Amanda and me. After my husband Jack died from a sudden heart attack when Amanda was just 6 years old, it was just the two of us against the world. I worked 2 jobs, administrative assistant during the day and waitressing 3 nights a week, to keep our modest home in a good school district. Money was always tight, but Amanda never went without the essentials or the occasional special treat. Those early years were hard but precious. I'd help Amanda with homework at the diner when business was slow. The regular customers knew her and would slip her cookies or small tips for helping fill water glasses. We had our Sunday traditions: pancakes for breakfast and afternoon walks in the park where we'd feed ducks and make up stories about their secret duck lives. Amanda would laugh so hard she'd snort, which only made us laugh more. I remember how she'd wait up for me on my late nights, pretending to be asleep when I checked on her. I'd always find her homework neatly done with a little note, "For the best mum ever." Those notes sustained me through exhaustion and grief. I kept every single one in a special box. When college application time came, I was determined Amanda would have opportunities I never had. I took out a second mortgage on our small house to help with tuition at a prestigious university several states away. The separation was difficult, but I was so proud watching her walk across that campus on move-in day, even as I drove home to an empty house. That's when things began to change. Amanda's calls became less frequent, her visits shorter. When she did come home, she seemed uncomfortable making comments about our quaint neighborhood or how my clothes were dated. I didn't mind much. I figured it was normal for a young woman finding her place in the world. During her junior year, Amanda met Richard, whose family owned a chain of luxury car dealerships across New England. The first time she brought him home, I noticed how his eyes scanned our living room, lingering on the worn sofa and outdated television. I'd spent the entire day cooking a special meal, but Richard barely touched his food, making a comment about watching his macros. Amanda seemed different around him, laughing too loudly at his jokes, constantly checking his reaction before speaking. After they left, I found she had hidden our family photos that usually sat on the mantel. That night, I cried for the first time since Jack's funeral, though I couldn't exactly explain why. As graduation approached, Amanda spent more time with Richard's family than with me. They took vacations together to places I could never afford, skiing in Aspen beach houses in the Hamptons. When I asked about her plans after college, she vaguely mentioned working for Richard's father's business. The bright, ambitious girl who once wanted to start her own company seemed to be fading away. Still, I told myself this was part of growing up. Amanda was building her own life, and I needed to support her journey, even if it was taking her further from me. I didn't realize then how completely I would lose my daughter to the allure of wealth and status that Richard's family represented. A world where a hard-working single mother with calloused hands and discount store clothes simply didn't belong. The engagement announcement came via text message. No phone call, just a photo of a massive diamond ring with the caption, "Said yes to forever with Richard." I called immediately, but Amanda didn't pick up. When she finally returned my call 3 days later, she was breathless with excitement about the 7-carat diamond and how Richard had proposed at his parents' vacation home in Martha's Vineyard. "We're thinking a spring wedding," she told me. "Richard's mother knows the perfect venue. It's where the governor's daughter got married last year." When I asked about my role in the planning, there was a slight pause before Amanda replied, "Of course you'll be involved, Mum. But Vivian, that's what Richard's mother prefers, I call her, has connections with all the best vendors." The first wedding planning meeting was held at the Prestons' sprawling colonial home in Beacon Hill. I wore my best outfit, a navy pantsuit I'd bought on clearance and saved for special occasions. As I parked my 10-year-old Honda between luxury vehicles, I felt a flutter of anxiety that I quickly dismissed. This was about Amanda's happiness, not my insecurities. Richard's mother, Vivian, greeted me with air kisses and a quick once-over that made me acutely aware of my sensible shoes and lack of jewellery. The interior of their home was impeccable, artwork that looked original and expensive furniture that had never seen a discount store price tag. Photos of Richard's family vacations in tropical locations and European cities lined the hallway. "We were thinking the Eastwick Hotel for the venue," Vivian announced before I'd even taken a seat. "They only do a few select weddings each year, but Jonathan plays golf with the owner." Jonathan, Richard's father, nodded from behind his laptop, barely acknowledging my presence. For the next 2 hours, I watched as Amanda nodded enthusiastically at every suggestion from Vivian. A 10-piece orchestra, custom letterpress invitations, flown-in flowers from South America. When I gently suggested that handwritten invitations might add a personal touch, Vivian laughed as if I'd told a charming joke. "Oh, no one does that anymore," she said, patting my hand. "We want Amanda's wedding to be sophisticated, not homemade." Amanda avoided my eyes and quickly changed the subject to bridesmaid dresses. As the estimated costs rose into 6 figures, I grew increasingly quiet. My entire annual salary wouldn't cover even half of what was being planned. Later, when Amanda and I were alone in the kitchen, I tried to discuss the budget. "Honey, I've been saving for your wedding since you were born, but some of these expenses are beyond what I can contribute." Amanda's expression hardened. "Mum, Richard's parents are handling most of it. They want to do this for us. I thought you'd be happy I found someone whose family can give me the wedding I deserve." The words stung. "I am happy for you, Amanda. I just want to contribute meaningfully too. The best thing you can do is follow Vivian's lead. She knows what's appropriate for people in Richard's circle." That night, I made a decision. The house where Amanda had grown up, the home I'd fought to keep through financial hardships, was now worth considerably more than when I'd bought it. The mortgage was nearly paid off. If I sold it, I could give Amanda and Richard a substantial down payment for their first home. It would mean starting over for me, finding an apartment, but seeing Amanda settled would be worth it. I contacted a realtor the next day and listed the house quietly, telling no one of my plan. It would be my surprise gift, my way of showing Amanda that I could give her something meaningful, even if it wasn't orchestrated by Vivian Preston. As the wedding plans progressed, I found myself increasingly sidelined. Amanda rarely returned my calls, and when she did, conversations were rushed and focused solely on wedding details. Vivian had arranged for Amanda to have dress fittings at an exclusive boutique, and when I asked about joining them, Amanda hesitated. "It's a very small space, Mum and Vivian's bringing her personal stylist. Maybe you could see the dress later." I never did see the dress until the final fitting, by which point all decisions had been made. Standing in that boutique, watching my daughter transformed into a bride without my input, I felt like an outsider looking in on someone else's special moment. The bridal shower was held at an upscale country club where Richard's family held membership. Vivian had organised everything, from the champagne tower to the flower arrangements that probably cost more than my monthly mortgage payment. I arrived early, hoping to help set up, but was politely directed to a seat by one of the hired event coordinators. I'd spent weeks thinking about the perfect gift. Financial constraints meant I couldn't compete with the expensive presents that would undoubtedly come from Amanda's new social circle. Instead, I decided on something priceless: my mother's pearl earrings and matching necklace. They were the only valuable things my mother had owned, passed down from her mother before her. They weren't flashy or modern, but they carried 3 generations of family history and had been worn at each woman's wedding. I'd had the pearls professionally cleaned and placed in a new velvet box with a handwritten note about their history and meaning. As Amanda opened gifts, kitchen gadgets that cost hundreds of dollars, crystal vases, weekend spa getaways, I grew increasingly nervous about my humble offering. When Amanda finally opened my gift, there was an awkward silence. She held up the pearl set with a forced smile that didn't reach her eyes. "These were Grandma's," I explained to the room. "She wore them at her wedding and I wore them at mine. I thought maybe they could be your something old." Before Amanda could respond, Vivian leaned over. "How vintage," she said, emphasizing the word in a way that clearly meant outdated. A few of the women tittered. Amanda quickly set the box aside. "Thanks, Mum. Very sweet." She reached for the next gift with obvious relief. Later, as Vivian presented her gift, a pair of diamond drop earrings that caught the light with every movement, I heard her stage whisper to Amanda, "For the actual wedding day, much more appropriate with your dress style." The room erupted in appreciative gasps as Amanda tried them on, exclaiming they were perfect. The pearls sat forgotten among discarded wrapping paper, and a server later handed them to me, assuming I'd want to take them home. That evening I tried calling Amanda to talk about the shower. When she finally answered, I could hear voices in the background. She was out with Richard's friends. "Can we talk later, Mum? We're just sitting down to dinner." "It's about the pearls," I persisted. "If you don't care for the style, we could have them reset." "Mum," Amanda interrupted, her voice tight. "The pearls are fine for every day, but they're not right for a formal wedding. Vivian says they look dated and she's right. I need to go." The next day, Amanda asked me to meet her for coffee. I arrived hopeful that we might reconnect, but she spent the first 15 minutes on her phone, texting and checking social media. When she finally put it down, her expression was businesslike. "Mum, we need to talk about your outfit for the wedding." "I bought a lovely dress at Nordstrom," I said, excited to show her the photo. "It's a beautiful mauve colour," Amanda cut me off. "Vivian showed me. You sent her a picture." Her tone suggested I'd done something wrong. "The thing is, the mothers are wearing pastels. Vivian's dress is a pale blue Vera Wang. Mauve will clash in the photos." "I can return it," I offered. Though the dress had been a splurge, the most expensive clothing item I'd bought in years. "Also," Amanda continued, as if I hadn't spoken, "your shoes and your whole look needs updating. Vivian suggested her stylist could help." "What's wrong with my look?" I asked, hurt seeping into my voice. Amanda sighed as if explaining something to a child. "Mom, Richard's family is very image conscious. His father's business depends on connections with high net worth individuals. The wedding will be full of important people. I need everyone in the wedding party to reflect a certain standard. I'm your mother, Amanda, not part of a business strategy." "That's exactly the kind of attitude that embarrasses me," she snapped. "This isn't just about you and me anymore. It's about the family I'm marrying into. Please don't make this difficult." As I drove home, tears blurred my vision. The daughter who once proudly introduced me to her teachers and friends now saw me as an embarrassment. Yet even then, I couldn't bring myself to be angry with her. Instead, I blamed myself for not being enough. Not sophisticated enough, not wealthy enough, not the kind of mother who would fit seamlessly into Amanda's new life. That night, I found the box with all of Amanda's childhood best mum ever notes and cried myself to sleep. The tension continued to escalate as the wedding date approached. At the rehearsal dinner, which Richard's parents insisted on hosting at an exclusive restaurant overlooking Boston Harbor, I discovered I had been seated at a table far from the main party with distant relatives and friends who didn't quite make the cut for the A-list. During pre-dinner cocktails, I overheard Amanda talking with Richard's friends. One asked about her other family who would be attending. "Just my mum," Amanda replied, with a laugh that cut through me like glass. "Dad's been gone forever, and Mum's family, well, They're not really the country club type, more the coupon-clipping, bargain-hunting crowd. The group laughed, and Richard added, Amanda's been getting her mum styled up for the big day. Complete makeover from what I hear. I slipped away to the restroom before anyone noticed me, locking myself in a stall until I could breathe normally again. When I returned, I smiled and made small talk with the other guests at my relegated table, pretending I hadn't heard my daughter mocking her upbringing, the upbringing I had sacrificed everything to provide. A week before the wedding, Amanda invited me to a final meeting with the wedding planner. I was hopeful this meant inclusion in the last-minute decisions, but it quickly became apparent I was there merely to be informed of my limited role. We have you scheduled to be seated by the usher at 3:40 p.m., the wedding planner explained, not looking up from her tablet. You'll be in the front row left side. There will be a corsage delivered to your hotel room that morning. What about walking Amanda down the aisle? I asked. Since her father isn't here, I thought perhaps. Amanda and the wedding planner exchanged a glance. Actually, Amanda said, Richard's father is going to walk me down the aisle. We decided it makes more sense for the family. I'm your family, Amanda, I said quietly. You know what I mean, Mum. Richard's family will be my family after Saturday. It makes sense for the photos and continuity. Later that day, Amanda asked to see my outfit for the wedding. I had returned the mauve dress and purchased another in pale yellow, hoping it would coordinate better with Vivian's blue. I had also splurged on professional hair and makeup appointments. Amanda inspected the new dress with a critical eye. It's better, she conceded, but those shoes won't work, and your jewellery is too bold. It's a simple gold necklace, I protested. Vivian says only the bride should wear noticeable jewellery. Mothers should be elegant, but understated. I bit my tongue, wondering when Vivian had become the authority on what I could wear to my own daughter's wedding. That evening, browsing social media, I discovered Amanda's wedding website, complete with detailed information about the bridal party events and family. Richard's parents had a full page dedicated to them, with a professional photo and paragraph about their prominence in Boston society. My name appeared only once in the smallest font at the bottom of the family page with no photo or description. Similarly, Amanda's Instagram showed numerous photos of wedding preparations, dress shopping with Vivian, cake tastings with Richard's sister's, venue visits with Richard's parents. I appeared in none of them, though I had been present for some of those occasions, hovering in the background like an unwelcome ghost. Despite all this, I continued with my plan to sell the house. The realtor had found a buyer willing to pay well above asking price, and the closing was scheduled for the day after the wedding. I had already begun quietly packing non-essential items, telling Amanda I was just spring cleaning when she occasionally visited. The money from the sale would give the newlyweds a substantial start on a home of their own, one worthy of the life Amanda clearly aspired to. Each night, as I boxed up another piece of our shared history, I convinced myself that this sacrifice would finally prove my worth as a mother, that when Amanda saw what I was willing to give up for her happiness, she would finally understand the depth of my love. The day before Amanda's wedding arrived, and I had planned a special mother-daughter breakfast at her apartment. I woke early to bake her favourite cinnamon rolls from scratch and prepared a basket with small gifts, a new perfume for the wedding day, a vintage handkerchief embroidered with beloved daughter that I'd ordered months ago, and a small album of photos from her childhood. I arrived at her downtown apartment building at 9 as we'd agreed. When she buzzed me up, I could immediately sense her stress. The apartment was in disarray with wedding items scattered everywhere. Amanda was still in her robe hair in curlers, talking rapidly on her phone while typing on her laptop. I have to go. My mum's here, she said into the phone with obvious irritation. No, I told you the final seating chart went to the printer yesterday. It's too late to change anything now. She ended the call and barely glanced at me. You're early. It's 9 o'clock. I said gently, holding up the basket. I brought breakfast. Your favorite cinnamon rolls. Amanda frowned. I can't eat those. I had my final dress fitting yesterday and it barely zipped. Plus, Richard's mother is sending brunch over from that new organic cafe at 11. The bridesmaids are coming for mimosas and final planning. My carefully prepared breakfast suddenly seemed pathetic. I set the basket down. That sounds nice. Maybe I could join you all. Help with any last-minute tasks. Amanda was already back on her phone. That's not necessary. Vivian's handling everything. The wedding planner says you just need to be at the hotel by 2 tomorrow for the pre-ceremony photos. I sat on the edge of the sofa, feeling awkward in what should have been a special moment between mother and daughter. I thought we might have some time together this morning, before everything gets hectic. Mum, everything is already hectic. I have a million things to coordinate. I understand, I said, trying to hide my disappointment. I just wanted to give you these small gifts and maybe talk about... The doorbell interrupted me. Amanda jumped up. That must be the florist with the sample centerpiece. It wasn't the florist. Richard's parents swept in carrying designer shopping bags and a catered breakfast spread. Vivian air-kissed Amanda and then noticed me with apparent surprise. Hattie, we weren't expecting you this morning. Mum and I had plans for breakfast, Amanda said, but her tone suggested these plans were a burden rather than something she'd been looking forward to. Well, we brought enough for everyone, Jonathan said, though his expression suggested otherwise. We also have that special gift we mentioned. Vivian pulled out a large jewellery box from one of the bags. We wanted Amanda to have this to wear tomorrow. It's been in the Preston family for 4 generations. Amanda gasped as she opened it to reveal a stunning diamond and sapphire necklace. It's absolutely gorgeous. Preston women have worn it at their weddings since 1892, Vivian explained, shooting me a look that clearly communicated the value of their family tradition over anything I could offer. As Amanda tried on the necklace in front of a mirror, I quietly picked up my gift basket. The small album and handkerchief seemed trivial compared to an heirloom worth more than my entire life savings. When there was finally a lull in the excitement, I touched Amanda's arm. Could we talk privately for a moment? I have something important to tell you. She sighed, but followed me to the small kitchen. What is it, Mum? I really don't have much time. I've been waiting for the right moment to tell you this, I began, my heart racing. I've sold the house. Amanda's eyes widened. What? Why would you do that? As a wedding gift for you and Richard. The closing is the day after tomorrow and the money is for your down payment on a home of your own. I know it's not as much as Richard's family can contribute, but... You sold our house without telling me. Amanda's voice rose. The house I grew up in. I thought you'd be happy, I said, confused by her reaction. You've mentioned several times how outdated it is, and you and Richard have been looking at those luxury condos downtown. Amanda's expression shifted from shock to anger. So, where are you going to live? I've found a small apartment. It's all I need, really. So you made this massive life decision without consulting me, and now you're dropping it on me the day before my wedding. Her voice had reached a shout. Richard's parents appeared in the kitchen doorway, concern etched on their faces. Everything okay in here? Jonathan asked. No, Amanda snapped. My mother just informed me she's sold her house, our family home, without telling me, as some kind of wedding gift. Vivian's eyebrows shot up. Oh my, that's quite dramatic, Hattie. I felt my face burn with embarrassment. I just wanted to contribute something meaningful, something that would help Amanda and Richard start their new life. We've already arranged for a down payment on a suitable home for them in our neighbourhood, Jonathan said dismissively, part of our wedding gift. Of course they had. I should have known I couldn't compete with their generosity. Still, I hadn't expected Amanda to react with such anger to what I'd thought would be seen as my ultimate sacrifice. Amanda, I'm sorry if this upset you. I truly thought... You never think, Amanda exploded. You just act on emotion without considering how it affects anyone else. This is exactly why I've been keeping you at arm's length with the wedding planning. You always find a way to make everything about you. That's not fair, I whispered, tears threatening. Everything I've ever done has been for you. Well, maybe that's the problem, Amanda shouted, her face contorted with a rage I'd never seen before. Maybe if you had a life of your own, you wouldn't be so clingy and embarrassing. Do you know how hard it's been to integrate you into this wedding? How many times I've had to apologize for your lack of social graces? Each word hit like a physical blow. Richard had entered the kitchen now, two standing silently behind his parents, watching the scene unfold without intervening. I've tried so hard, I said, my voice breaking. I've done everything you asked, changed my dress, my hair, my jewelry. I've accepted being seated away from you at events, being excluded from traditions. What more do you want from me? Amanda's eyes narrowed, cold and unfamiliar. You want to give me a wedding gift. Here's what I want. Get out of my life. You're the worst mother anyone could have. The best gift you could give me is disappearing from my family completely. The kitchen fell silent. Richard's parents looked uncomfortable, but made no move to defend me. Richard himself studied the floor, saying nothing. I stood frozen, feeling as though the ground had disappeared beneath my feet. The daughter I had raised alone, sacrificed everything for, worked my fingers to the bone to provide for, was looking at me with pure contempt. If that's how you truly feel, I finally managed to say, my voice barely audible, then I'll respect your wish. I picked up my purse and gift basket and walked to the door on the legs that felt disconnected from my body. No one called after me. No one tried to stop me. As the door closed behind me, I heard Vivian say, "Well, that was certainly dramatic. Now, about the welcome bags for the out-of-town guests." I don't remember the drive home. I don't remember climbing the stairs to my half-packed house or sitting in Jack's old armchair until darkness fell. I just remember the hollow feeling in my chest, as if something vital had been scooped out, leaving nothing but an empty shell. Around midnight, my phone buzzed with a text from Amanda. "I'm sorry for losing my temper. Wedding stress. Still expect to see you tomorrow at 2 for photos." No acknowledgement of her cruel words. No real apology, just an expectation that I would show up and play my part in the perfect wedding picture, smiling, as if my heart hadn't been shattered into 1,000 pieces. For the first time in my life, I considered not putting Amanda first. What if I didn't show up tomorrow? What if I truly gave her the gift she had asked for? My complete absence. As dawn broke, I made my decision. I would respect my daughter's true wish, not the superficial text sent as an afterthought. If disappearing from her life was what she wanted, I would grant her that request. I called the wedding venue at 8 a.m. and spoke to the coordinator. "There's been a change of plans," I explained calmly. "I will no longer be paying for the reception." The venue had been the one thing I had insisted on contributing to emptying my savings account for the deposit and payments. "Mom, the final payment was due last week and it's been processed already," the coordinator replied, confusion in her voice. "Check again," I said. "The payment was scheduled for today. I've just called my bank and stopped it." There was keyboard clicking, then a sharp intake of breath. "This will cause significant problems, Ms. Williams. The wedding is tomorrow." "Yes," I said, feeling oddly detached. "I imagine it will. Please direct any questions to the Prestons. They're handling the wedding now." Next, I called my realtor and confirmed that the house closing was on schedule. Then I contacted a local charity and arranged for them to pick up all my remaining furniture that afternoon. What few personal possessions I wanted to keep would fit in my car. As volunteers loaded my furniture into trucks, I sat at the kitchen table writing a letter. When the house was empty, except for my suitcase and a small box of keepsakes, I placed the letter in an envelope along with documents showing the house sale and bank transfer information. The money that would have gone to Amanda and Richard was now divided, half to a trust for any future grandchildren I might never meet, half to a scholarship fund for children of single parents. I added one last item to the envelope, the pearl earrings and necklace that had been rejected along with their history written on a card. Then I placed the envelope in the middle of the empty living room floor, the only item left in what had once been a home filled with love and memories. As I locked the door for the final time, my phone exploded with calls and texts. Word had reached Amanda that the reception venue was demanding payment. Richard's parents were apparently handling the situation, but wanted to know what I'd done. Amanda's messages ranged from confused to furious. I didn't answer any of them. Instead, I drove to the interstate and headed west, no particular destination in mind, except away. 3 hours into my drive, I turned off my phone completely. Amanda had made her feelings clear. She thought I was the worst mother anyone could have. Perhaps she was right. Perhaps a better mother would have prepared her daughter for life's realities instead of shielding her from hardships. Perhaps a better mother would have instilled gratitude and compassion rather than ambition and material desires. Whatever my failings, I had given Amanda exactly what she asked for: my disappearance. The empty house with its solitary envelope was my final gift to her. Whether she would ever understand the love behind my actions, I couldn't know. As sunset painted the sky ahead of me in shades of pink and gold, I felt something unexpected, a glimmer of freedom. For the first time in 30 years, I had no one to consider but myself. The thought was both terrifying and strangely exhilarating. I had no idea where I was going or what I would do when I got there. But for once, that uncertainty felt like possibility rather than fear. 6 months have passed since I drove away from Boston and the daughter who no longer wanted me in her life. I've settled in a small coastal town in Oregon, about as far from New England as I could get without leaving the country. I found a job as an office manager for a local medical practice and rent a small but charming apartment with a view of the ocean. The first few months were the hardest. I would wake up reaching for my phone to check if Amanda had called, only to remember she hadn't called in weeks. And before that, her calls had been filled with anger and accusations. According to the few mutual connections we had, the wedding had proceeded with a scaled-back reception paid for by Richard's parents. Amanda had apparently told everyone I'd had a mental breakdown and abandoned her right before the wedding. I let her have that narrative. What purpose would it serve to defend myself? The people who mattered to her new life would believe what they wanted to believe. Gradually, I began building a life for myself. I joined a book club at the local library, volunteered at an animal shelter on weekends, and even took a pottery class, something I'd always wanted to try but never had time for when raising Amanda. I made friends, real friends, who liked me for who I was, not what I could do for them or how I could fit into their social hierarchy. 3 months after I left, a letter arrived forwarded from my old address, Amanda's handwriting. I stared at it for hours before finding the courage to open it. "Mum," she wrote, "I don't even know if this will reach you. No one seems to know where you've gone. The house is sold. Your phone is disconnected. It's like you vanished into thin air. I found your letter in the empty house. At first I was furious. How could you cancel the reception and just leave? But then I read what you wrote about the years of sacrifice, about working 2 jobs to keep me in a good school district, about taking out a second mortgage for my college tuition. I never knew about any of that. You never told me how hard things really were. Richard and I are having problems. His parents have opinions about everything: where we should live, how we should spend our money, when we should start a family. Now I understand why you fled. It's suffocating. I said terrible things to you, unforgivable things. I don't expect you to respond to this letter, but I needed you to know that I recognize now what I've lost. Not just a mother, but the only person who ever loved me unconditionally. If you ever want to contact me, I would welcome it. I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I miss you, Mum. I read the letter a dozen times, tears streaming down my face. Part of me wanted to call her immediately to say all was forgiven. Another part, a wiser, more self-protective part, knew that reconciliation, if it happened, would need to be slow and cautious. I wrote back a short note giving her my new contact information, but explaining that I needed time. I told her I loved her and always would, but that we both needed to reflect on the kind of relationship we wanted moving forward. She's called twice since then. Our conversations have been awkward but civil. She and Richard are in couples counselling. She's started to recognise the unhealthy dynamics in his family and is finding her voice. Small steps. I don't know if we'll ever fully repair what was broken. Some wounds leave permanent scars. But I've learned important lessons in these months of independence. I've learned that loving someone doesn't mean becoming their doormat. It doesn't mean accepting mistreatment or disrespect. True love, the kind I thought I was showing Amanda all those years, includes boundaries and self-respect. I've learned that my identity isn't solely defined by being a mother. I'm a woman with my own interests, dreams, and value. Putting my daughter first for 30 years wasn't wrong, but completely losing myself in the process was. Most importantly, I've learned that it's never too late to start over. At 58, I'm building a life that brings me joy. I'm discovering parts of myself that had been buried under years of self-sacrifice. I'm finding peace with my choices, both past and present. If Amanda and I eventually rebuild our relationship, it will be as two adult women who respect each other, not as a daughter who demands and a mother who endlessly gives. And if reconciliation isn't possible, I'll carry the love I have for her in my heart while continuing to live a life of dignity and purpose. The small gift I left in that empty house wasn't just for Amanda. In a way, it was also for myself, permission to finally let go and discover who Hattie Williams might become when she puts herself first for once. Have you ever had to make the painful choice to walk away from someone you love for your own well-being? Did you, like me, discover unexpected strength and resilience in starting over? I'd love to hear your stories in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel for more reflections on life's difficult journeys and the wisdom they bring. Thank you for listening, and remember, it's never too late to begin again.